Let's bring in Pacer ETF's President Sean O'Hara, Raymond James policy analyst Ed Mills, and Baltic head of research Kathryn Rooney Vera. Kathryn, let me begin with you. Is there any hope that we could see a bounce back? I mean, I was mentioning to Scott Shellady that, you know, we've had many viruses after a 6-month period. We have ended up above, the market's been above where it was when it began to drop because of the virus. 6 months would take us just about to the election. Could we have a complete turnaround by then?
Not only is it a hope, David, it's my base case scenario. Of course, no one can determine the longevity of the contagion and this panic, but if one assumes that this is an event-driven shock to the markets, that historically has been about a 6-month impact for the markets, which gets us to approximately July. If we get a decrease in the velocity of, you know, the contagion and the growth rate, then markets, I think, will turn around. My issue, David, is always the following. Is demand in the aggregate demand equation, which we use to calculate GDP, being destroyed or delayed? If it's the latter, then you will get a rebound in the latter half of this year.
And if it's the latter, we could also have a pent-up demand, which would mean an explosion of people going out and buying things. And Ed, our economy,
exactly.
on the production side, our economy was doing extraordinarily well. We were bringing jobs back home that had gone overseas during the previous administration. Our job situation was better than it had been in my lifetime. How much of a buffer to this shock that we are now seeing? How much of a buffer was the extraordinarily strong economy going into this?
I think that's a great question. I think the buffer that the market is looking for is a buffer of fiscal stimulus coming out of Capitol Hill, as well as a buffer from monetary stimulus coming out of the Fed. We thought going into this week that we'd have more clarity come Thursday. Democrats introduced their bill last night, are going to vote on it today. However, you don't have bipartisan support. We still don't have the president's plan. We don't have a Republican plan in Congress. And Powell has been MIA this week. So we do have a strong buffer from a fundamentally strong economy. But for the markets, they need fiscal and monetary stimulus to find a bottom.
Well, Sean, yesterday the president met with the banking community, and clearly they were working on those plans. Is it possible that while we may be slow to get some kind of tax cut, we could get other measures that would satisfy the banking community, that would make sure that we don't have kind of a spiral down in the financial situation that we saw in 2008, 2009?
Well, you know, I sort of don't think this is a financial equation right now. I think the equation right now is how do we stop the spread of the virus? And the only plan being put in place right now is containment and keeping people separate. And if that's the medicine to cure the expansion of the virus, the medicine to stop the virus spread is actually killing another patient, and that's the economy and the stock market. So cutting rates isn't going to make people want to go out of their house or fly in an airplane or take a cruise or go to Disneyland or sit next to somebody at a stadium. And so that's the dilemma. That's the real problem is that the solution, and it needs to be, I think, at this point, drastic. The more drastic it is, the more negative effect it has on the economy and corporate earnings. And then we'll have to see how long this lasts and then how quick it takes for things to revamp back up once it's over.
Okay, panel, thank you very much for riding with us on this wild ride of a day. The House is expected to vote on their own coronavirus legislation today.